Our next reader is Rose Smith. Rose is a writer and film producer, and currently she is at work on a novel. So help me welcome Rose.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Kirk. And Kirk and Kirk. I'm going to read the first couple of pages from my book. The first chapter is called Accident. After the accident, I sleep in a crib for the first time. It is an ordinary crib with vertical bars to hold out the helplessness of everyone around me. My body, so unguarded in sleep, fits perfectly. My limbs unfold to grace every corner. I have never slept in a bed so small. Shared mattress, backseat of car, blankets on the floor, all more spacious. My mother wakes up early that morning. She is still getting sick each dawn, and as she slides from the bed, she disentangles her limbs from mine. During this time, it seems to her that my arms and legs grow longer overnight. When she glides into the kitchen sometime later, I am sitting at the table spooning cereal into my mouth. My third birthday is behind me, and I can get my own milk from the fridge. I look up and watch her wipe her mouth with the back of her hand. She's brushed her teeth, and her hair is pulled into a neat bun like a dancer. My mother was a dancer before all this. She doesn't see the toast laid out on a plate across the table. I placed it there, knowing that she won't eat more than that, not these days, and thinking of the time my father made her breakfast in bed. He sliced peaches and strawberries and cherries and pears and apples and even kiwis into paper-thin shapes and arranged them like a mandala on a large plate. He spent over an hour making breakfast a meditation, and her joy at seeing this beautiful thing he made, and her thrill in receiving a gift from him, and her relief that he was, for once, awake in the morning and not drunk. He watched her, content like a monk to see his mandala disappearing, one piece at a time, into her red mouth. That was a few months ago, and we haven't seen him since. His shadow comes between us as she looks in my face and sees him there. Have you found your shoes? Yes, I tell her. I choose a compact sketchbook and some pencils. That shelf in the corner is mine. 3 tiers of toys and rocks and broken jewelry, some paints and a block of wood, and a piece of leather from my grandpa. I survey my options once more to be sure, and briefly consider the Velveteen Rabbit. But in the end, it is the book I fold under my arm. We are going shopping today, catching a ride to Tucson with a friend. I know the ride is a long one, and I want to be prepared. An undersized pickup truck slows to a stop in front of the house. Thanks for picking us up, Jamie. It's cool. It's not that far from Bisbee. I settle in for the long drive, listening to the women as they begin their gossip. I unlatch the glove box and use the door as a table for my drawing and writing. I pretend to be busy so they won't know I am listening, so they won't be careful about what they say. For a while, it is all about the boyfriends and girlfriends and lovers of other people. My mother is only 28 at this time. Then I hear Janie ask, "When is the baby due?" "April." "Is Bill coming back for the birth?" There is a sharp intake of breath as we all wait. "Well, the fucker better." And she lets out one of her big laughs, angry, funny, strong, and full of release. Janie and I are both relieved. "What about Jody?" Janie is emboldened by the laugh, but I think she might be pushing it. "Jesus, Janie, the birth of his baby? Jesus fucking Christ." Amen, what a fucking asshole. We all sit with that information for a beat or two, then they move on to Janie's love life. And there are too many names, so I drift back into my work. The Mule Mountains have to be crossed to get from Bisbee to Tucson. The ground is brown and plain, demurring to the dazzling sky. In other places I have lived, like Utah or New Mexico, where the mountains meet the desert, the land competes with the sky, flashing blood-red shapes and emerald-green cliffs. But in Arizona, the sky is the entire show. I look up from my drawings as the clouds race the blue. I lean back against my mom's stomach, and she lays her hand lightly on my knee, holding me in place. The ground becomes flat soon, and the wild desert gives way to weedy lots and long, low block buildings on the outskirts of Tucson. Up ahead, on the right-hand side, is a 3-story glass building, partly complete. It is new, like the road, some of it enclosed by dark brown glass, and some of it just empty steel frameworks. There are men crawling all over the thing, and scaffolding holds more of them. We are all looking, but we don't see him fall until we hear the yell of fear. Suddenly, he hangs there suspended in midair, dangling next to the new glass, held by a rope and a harness. We hear the yells of alarm and anger, and then of relief from all the men. We watch them scramble forward to haul him back in. We sigh our sigh in the truck, believing the danger past. This is the moment before, the next is the moment after. Here is what happens in the space between. My mother's arm slams into my ribs as she pulls me tight to her body. We are both hurled forward. Her face hits the glass of the windshield, still turned to the right, shattered. Shards finding purchase in her left cheek, body arced into a grotesque shape. No arm thrown up in fear, hands still firmly wrapped around me. Below, as the shards fall, is my face, smashed, between the metal dash and her stomach. Blouse, skin, muscle, ribs, tendon, uterus, placenta, amniotic, my brother, his beating heart. There's blood everywhere. My mom lifts me out of the seat and sets me on the road beside the truck. The car in front of us is folded in on itself. It's impossible to see where our truck ends and the other car begins. Janie stands by, her tongue worrying at a cup on her lip. Her hands are at her sides like caught fish. My mother is wailing. What she is saying doesn't make sense, but it gets under my skin and into my flesh and stays there like a warning. Just live, she is screaming. Just live. And I answer, I am okay, Mama, every time. And I mean it so much that it defines my whole childhood. We are side by side in the ambulance, and our survival becomes mutually dependent from now on. The pact is made.